Welcome to everyone that's here taking this tour with us today. Learning about Black history and culture within local communities can be a powerful tool for government, employees, and other stakeholders. It can help build bridges between different communities and foster understanding and create an environment of inclusivity and respect, which can lead to more collaboration and better relationships between government and other residents. And so that is part of why we are taking this tour today. You're going to have an opportunity to visit some historic sites here in Palm Beach County.
We're going to spend the next few hours together, some of its historical Black landmarks, and listening to a couple of historians this morning.
Spady House is the one that we're going to go in now. It was built by Solomon Spady, who was an educator, came here in 1922 to be the teacher for the then called colored children in a deeply segregated South. He married a girl whose family migrated here from the Panhandle in the 1890s. Her name was Jessie Green. And the two of them finished building that house in 1926. It's a Mission Revival style structure, wooden with stucco, and it has survived since 1926. We turned it into a Black History Museum, and Edward is going to tell you a little bit more about that museum when we get inside.
We are going to go into the Spady Museum now, where I'll give you a bit of a tour. So come on through this way, my friends. The current exhibit is an AKA exhibit, and so it is the first Black sorority in America. They came into existence in 1908. So when you come inside the Spady Museum, you'll see a bit of that history, a bit of the story of the AKAs. Feel free to keep coming on through. Greetings, greetings, welcome.
Yeah.
And again, this home was built in 1926, so it is nearly a century old. Now, during this time period, what matters heavily about Spady being here, he's going to come down in 1922. We must remember the context of America's history at this time. This is during the suffrage movement. This is during the, was going to be the Great Depression. This is directly after World War I. From 1890 to 1950, we have the Bahamian, Lebanese, German, Jewish, and Japanese living here in Delray, creating societies, making communities. In South Florida, we are going to see white and Black Americans voting. This means that in the 1920s, when we see white and Black Americans voting, that is because there are Europeans and Bahamians here and Japanese who are living together, actually trading, actually working in the mercantile center of the community, trading with the Seminoles out west as well. Now we're building highways because everyone has a car. They want the American dream. The highways are coming from suburbs through redlined areas into the downtown areas. The Atlantic Avenue goes right through the redlined area. Every single minority community is then redlined. This is the only commercial road truly renovated throughout this entire redlined area. We have to make sure we are learning history.
We are so thrilled that you came. So you gotta come back and do a full tour with Edward. We also have a walking tour where we go through all 5 of the historic districts in Delray Beach.
Get back on the bus. We're going to head to our next site.
It was open for homestead settlement under the Federal Homestead Act. People could get 160 acres for building a little house and farming it. And the first couple to take advantage of that and within the area that was to become the city of Lake Worth was an African-American couple by the name of Fannie and Samuel James. There are a couple of monuments to them or murals to them on the wall. And she opened the first post office. They were real estate dealers. They got land under the Federal Homestead Act, and then they sold it off to Palm Beachers. And they made a lot of money. And we know from the records that they made about $250,000 in 1880 money. So you can figure about what that would be today, probably about $10 million. Selling off that waterfront property that they were wise enough to take. They're attributed as the founders of the town, and Lake Worth is really proud of that diversity, that we have that background. And the early community here was very mixed. There were Americans from Georgia, there were Bahamians, there were also some people from Europe, Swedish and German background that took out homesteads and were part of that early community. The developer came in, bought out the farmers that were here and created the town of Lake Worth, created the streets and the individual lots, cut up those 160-acre plats into home-sized lots and laid out the town. But this was in 1912, 1913, an era when the Ku Klux Klan and Jim Crow was the law of the land, basically. And they created Lake Worth as an all-white town. And so the African-American and Bahamian population lived south of what was then the city limits, which you passed 12th Avenue South, that was the city limits. And so in 1926, finally, this was annexed into the city of Lake Worth, but there were segregated housing districts, white residential areas where whites could live, colored in the terminology of the day, district where the colored could live, and a $500 fine for living in the wrong neighborhood for 10 days. So again, $1913, that's a lot of money. So this was the historic Black community. The families were very close. You passed memorials to them along the wall with the names of the families that were the settlers and the leaders in this community through that Jim Crow period. It was a very strong community. And then, of course, civil rights opened it up. And today, Lake Worth really celebrates its diversity. And we're so happy that you guys included us today on your Black History Tour.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
So the buses are outside. We're going to get moving as quickly as possible.
History for so long was told from the perspective of the white man. Now, mincing words about it, those are just facts. And so one of the things that the heritage community here in Palm Beach County has come together in an endeavor to do was to broaden the perspective of history.
Was on midwife, Millie Gildersleeve. Did everyone? It was so shocking. A white doctor would take Millie, who happened to be Black. We didn't have roads. We didn't have paved roads until the 1920s. And he would pick her up by canoe and bring her to the person who was in labor. Because he couldn't deliver a baby. He was a doctor. You didn't have doctors doing deliveries unless you were dying in those days.
Every stop we hit was a highlight. We started with the Spade Museum. We went to the Unity Wall. We did a lot of incredible things here in West Palm Beach too. Just really eye-opening, and in addition to actually being able to see the things that you've heard about or read about and actually see them in person, the stories that we also heard just added a lot to the whole picture.
really important to know the history of our county. I would encourage any young person in our community to take a tour like this, because I've learned so much about the legal history, the political history, the medical history, and the education system in Palm Beach County.
I am here today with about 50 of my team members to learn about the rich history, specifically our Black history in our community. We know that we don't often read about that in our history books, and we certainly don't get a glimpse of the rich history that's here, right here in Palm Beach County. This historical society and looking at the exhibit upstairs with all of the first Black women magistrates and lawyers has been really, really amazing. And I highly recommend everybody go on this tour at some point, because you're gonna learn things that you never knew were right in your backyard.
The highlight of the day for me was really the public spaces that are preserved in this county through the hard work of so many individuals, and being able to visit those community gathering places where people come together of all backgrounds.
I grew up around 7th Street near the Sunset Lounge, so that brought a whole lot of memories back to me, running around, sneaking into it and all that good stuff. And just the flash of a memory that came back just made me appreciate the time that I spent, and it made me realize just how far we have come, yet we still have a long way to go.
If you haven't taken the tour, a Black History tour in Palm Beach County, please do it and learn a little bit more about our county, our community.
Fanga alafia, ashe, ashe, ya. Fanga alafia, ashe, ashe. Fanga alafia, ashe, ashe. Fanga alafia, ashe.